Hi everyone. As I've played TF2 longer and longer, it always sticks out to me when new players, spectators, or even sometimes casters either don't know the terminology or incorrectly use terminology when describing a play or the game state or whatever. So today I'm going to walk you through a whole ton of competitive lingo and hopefully help you get a better understanding for these terms. I'm Grape Juice. I've been playing competitively since ESEA Season 23 back in 2016, so I think I'm adequately prepared for the task. Add and disadd is shorthand for advantage and disadvantage. By default, this refers to uber advantages. We have full add, we have 50 disadd, etc. Otherwise, you would specify which advantage you're referring to. We have numbers add, for example. Buffs, 99% of the time, is used to describe overheal, with how infrequently the backpacks are used by soldiers. In the case you're referring to the backpacks, most people just refer to their effects by whichever backpack is being used, i.e. their battalions, their conch, their banner. Sometimes banner is used for all three interchangeably, which doesn't really matter since everyone knows what each backpack does. If a player has crit heals, it means that they're able to be healed at twice or 3 times the rate of the normal medi-beam heal rate. If you want more details on what crit heals are, you can just do a YouTube search for what are crit heals. Dropping has 2 meanings. You can drop uber, which is when you have 100% uber charge and you die with it, or you can drop players, which is having your uber ready to deploy and losing players that could be saved with the uber. This is sometimes done intentionally with good reason, but it is mostly done accidentally and is very costly. Exchange, or trade, is used interchangeably for both teams using their ubers in a fight. Typically done to buy time for spawners if defending, or to get through a doorway to use another advantage effectively if attacking. Fake, faking, faked refers to manually using the uber ready voice command as a medic when you don't have uber in an attempt to trick the enemy into thinking you do have uber, as this voice line is called out automatically by the medic once he reaches 100% uber. Mask, masking, masked is using other voice lines at the same time the medic reaches 100% uber to prevent the uber ready voice line from being called out. Many voice lines from the medic are much quieter and briefer comparatively speaking, so it can be used to mask the enemy team from knowing exactly when you have uber. Just as a bonus, they called refers to a medic who has used the uber ready voice lines. Not always useful given the mind games surrounding faking and masking, but it can be good to know sometimes. Flashing is when a medic who is currently ubered switches heal targets to give the uber to another player for a brief period of time. Sometimes it's to save that player from dying, other times it enables them to make a big play. Force or forcing is used to describe a medic using his uber charge in order to prevent himself or a teammate from dying. A leapfrog is a situation where one team has a pushable uber advantage, uses the uber into a point in a way that results with the opposing team having a pushable uber advantage. It's like you're playing leapfrog. One person's in front, you jump over that person, they jump over you, you jump over them, same sort of thing. The leash is just the medi-beam when the medic is healing his players. Milking uber is purposefully delaying using an uber in the face of danger in order to receive a larger payoff if timed right. On the other hand, holding uber is purposefully not using an uber in the face of danger, typically a well done sack attempt, in order to use it in a later fight. Tracking or counting refers to the role that primarily falls onto each team's medic to keep track of both teams' uber percentages. Bombing is soldier-related terminology that specifically relates to rocket jumps that intend to have a major effect on a team fight. If you do a crazy rollout to meet your team, you're not bombing, you're just rolling out. On the other hand, you can do the most basic one rocket jump and land on the enemy team in a fight, and you're bombing them. A fade bomb would be a soldier bombing onto the enemy team but then air strafing away to a safe position. This is typically linked with a high bomb, where you bomb high, giving you time to choose where you want to land. Bust and flood just means getting through choke points or other doorways quickly. You'd say bust through lower, flood through top right, etc. On the other hand, stuffing is just preventing the enemy team from getting through choke points or other doorways. You'd say like stuff them at shutter or something like that. A dot push describes a push where you're using your uber into a point the very instant you get your uber, i.e. you're pushing on the dot. Typically done with a very small uber advantage, where every second you have the uber and are not using it is very consequential. A dry push or a dry fight is just a push or fight taken without ubers in play. Kiting is used to describe running away from the enemy team to waste their time and resources, and ultimately get yourself into a better position. Playing heals has 2 meanings that are sort of similar in a sense. The first is just to generally play around the medic as an individual. If you're a flank player, perhaps this applies more to reconnecting with the combo in the middle of a fight. The second meaning refers to the team using the fact that your medic is alive and theirs is dead to whittle the enemy team away with damage in a slower paced fight while your team gets healed, as opposed to being super aggressive and using brute force to do the same. Post is just shorthand for any situation that happens after an Uber has been used or after a fight has been taken. A transition fight is a fight that continues after an initial push into one area of the map into another area of the map. So you fail your push in a mid, the enemy team chases you all the way to your second point. That chase would be a transition fight. Bait is another term that creates a lot of confusion in a lot of players. You could say baiting your team is like purposefully not engaging in a fight that your team is taking in order to take advantage of a certain timing. If you're trying to bait the enemy team or bait enemy players, you're describing using one of your team's players or exploiting a disadvantage your team has in order to make the enemy team do a predictable play that you can then counter. Bullying is when you use an advantage, typically players or Uber advantage, to create a bigger advantage for yourself without throwing away the one you already have. Pressure cooking is a specific instance of bullying wherein all 6 of your players are actively trying to overwhelm the enemy team without fully committing to a sack play yet, typically done during even 100% Uber charges by the attacking team. The combo is the group of players that make up the major pushing force of your team, so your medic, demo man, pocket soldier, pocket scout. And Highlander, this would also include your pyro and heavy and stuff like that. Opposite the combo, you have your flank, namely your flank scout and roaming soldier and other associated classes in Highlander. These players are tasked with watching areas of the map not covered by your combo and are the go-to dirty work players on the team. Rotate or rotating is just synonymous with moving from one area of the map to another. Sometimes it's one player rotating to the flank in order to watch it. Sometimes it's the whole team rotating to the choke point in order to stop the enemy team from pushing through it. Sack is just short for sacrifice, and a sack or a sack wave is just a play in which one or more players purposefully take a bad fight in an attempt to create a larger advantage for their team. Most famously, a roamer jumping into the enemy team in order to kill the opposing medic, or force them to use their Uber in fear of dying. Stacking the objective with a lot of players makes it capture faster, and this is typically done in order to deny the enemy team from getting forward spawns. In this instance, you could also just say that you want to deny them, and your team should instinctively know to stack the objective. Digging a little deeper though, denying in 5CP is moving the opposing team's spawn point back by capturing a respective control point while opposing players are currently dead, so they spawn further away from the front line. In King of the Hill, denying is capturing the point and causing your respawning teammates to get their respawn timers extended, since in King of the Hill, the team that owns the point has longer respawn times. Telegraphing is when you essentially announce to the enemy team through your actions what you're about to do before you've even done it. A carpet or carpeting is when a demo man puts a lot of sticky bombs on the ground as a form of area denial. If a player craters, it means they died from fall damage. Feeding is just dying in an inopportune fashion, essentially feeding the enemy team a free kill. Could be due to bad timing on a good play, or someone just made the wrong play altogether. Pick or picking or picks shares the same meaning as frags, fragging, killing, etc. Tunnel or tunneling is just short for tunnel vision, so you're hyper-focusing on something to the point that it's detrimental. Alright, that just about covers everything I could think of, or that people suggested to me on Twitter. Feel free to leave a comment down below if there's any terminology that I missed in this video. Thanks for watching, I hope this was insightful, and I'll see you next time.